But before it can almost even come to their lips, they will say things like, well, I don't have enough education. I possibly can't do that. You know, who do you think you are? Well, I'm a woman. Well, I'm too young. Well, I'm too old. And so they will almost instantly jump into ego. And so part of my role is helping them stay much more connected, because one of the things that happens in trauma is we give away our power very early. Most times that's been taken from us. And one of the journeys in the work that I do, whether that's everything I do is about self-growth. Everything I do is about empowerment, but I happen to work with people who are moving through grief and trauma or on a healing journey of some sort. And so it's to help them understand that stay with that first thought. And one of the things, and you named this, you got grounded, you got centered before you began to talk to me. One of the biggest ways to learn to do that is to stay totally centered in yourself, to breathe yourself back in. I use a lot of elements. Nobody who works with me gets out of my office without having rocks in their hands and in their pockets, because we need to use all kinds of methods to stay connected. One thing that I'd like to say, though, I have a little trouble with you using the dragon as your metaphor for what I would call ego's voice. The dragon to me is a very spiritual symbol, and I spent a lot of time in pilgrimage actually searching the dragon's trail. And so in Christianity we only have one metaphor, one symbol for the dragon, and that's that St. George killed him, or that the Archangel Michael standing on his head. But in more ancient times and in the more pagan religions, the religions that really connected with the earth energies, the dragon was actually a very sacred symbol, and it certainly is to many of the Chinese people that I work with. So the dragon for them is actually called a guardian of spiritual truth. So I'd like to put that back to you just for a little bit of joy here in having you look at your dragon philosophy.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, it's yes, it is spiritual. The dragon is something that we can't kill off. The dragon is here to protect us, to make sure that we are surviving. That when something is about to happen, it's a way for the dragon to let us know that, you know, what we need to do next in order to protect ourselves. So it's not something that we can get rid of or kill, because if we do that, we're dead. So it's just a way that I explain the drag energy, because for the first time we have actually connected our spirituality and consciousness to science. And how we basically accomplish that is to take a look at the 23 organs in our body, 22 organs and glands in our body, and each one of those organs and glands are actually connected to, or can be connected to, feeling or emotion.
Indeed.
And what actually ends up happening is, when we are not processing our emotional life, we are actually hurting ourselves, not just on an emotional and spiritual level, but on a physical level. We are hurting certain organs depending on what are the emotions connected to. And of course, our body is so beautifully designed that it does understand homeostasis, and will attempt to make adjustments to make sure that we continuously stay alive, but it can only do it for so long. So if you are wondering why we have cancer, why we have all the illnesses, why we have more drugstores now than McDonald's, it's because we're not processing our lives. We are making ourselves sick. And it is the drag energy, the dragon energy. You see, the way I see that there's only one game that's worth playing on this planet, and there are millions of games to be engaged in. But the only one I know that's worth playing is consciousness. Because once we understand how life works and how consciousness works, we actually get to regenerate our physical bodies versus degenerating them. So what I like to do is at least do one commercial break. I missed two of them already because I'm so engaged with you, I'm not paying attention to other things that I need to do. So I'm going to do a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I want to give you and the listeners an example